everyone. Today I am here to discuss the instrumentation of IR spectroscopy. After studying this lecture, you shall be able to know about the knowledge of IR instrumentation, understand the role of various types of detector, know about the Fdir instrument of IR spectroscopy. Now we will discuss the instrumentation of IR. Before discussing the working of instrumentation, first we discuss the components. Number 1. Radiation source. NUS global and global are the radiation source which is used in the instrumentation. Next is optical prism. It is also called mirror, which is used to reflect the radiation on filter. Next, filter. It is also called monochromator, which send the individual frequencies to the detector. Next, amplifier, which amplifies the current received from the detector. And last is recorder. It draws the IR spectrum. Now, let us discuss all the components one by one. First, we take radiation source. As we know, radiation sources are of two types. First is NUS global, which is the combination of oxides of zirconium, that is 97%, yttrium 7%, and erbium, that is 3%. It is hollow rod having a diameter 2 mm and length is 30 cm. It is non-conducting at room temperature, so heating is required at 1000 to 1800 degrees Celsius. It produces very intense IR radiation. Apart from that, IR ranges is very wide in NUS global as compared to others. Next, radiation source is global. It is a rod of sintered silicon carbide. Diameter is 4 mm and length is 50 cm. This rod will not produce IR radiation without heating, so heating is required at 1300 to 1700 degrees Celsius. By this rod emit IR radiation. Global are less intense IR radiation as compared to NUS global. Next, monochromator. Two types of monochromator is used, that is prism and grating. First of all, what is prism? Prism, it is made up of alkali metal halides like sodium chloride, potassium bromide, lithium fluoride and cesium bromide. Next, we discuss gratings. Gratings is an advanced version of monochromator. In the surface of gratings, small tiny prism-like structures known as grooves that act as a monochromator. Next, we will discuss detector. There are 6 types of the detector which is used in this instrumentation. First is Volometer. It is a thermal conductivity detector and it depends on the change in the current flow. So, when the IR radiation will comes into the surface of the volometer, then the temperature will increase. Due to that increase in the temperature, resistance will also increase. For each per degree centigrade, increment in the temperature is 0.4%. So, resistance will be increased and due to this, current flow will be charged and recorded in the recorder. Next detector is thermocouple. Two dissimilar wire will be used at one end. IR radiation were attacked and due to that IR radiation temperature will be different for the both ends and ultimately current will be altered. Due to the temperature difference at the both end, potential difference develop and ultimately current flow will take place that will be recorded. Third detector is thermistor. In thermistor, fused mixture of metal oxide is used. When the IR radiation will come to the surface of this thermistor, then the temperature of the fused mixture metal oxide will increase and resistance will decrease, and ultimately current flow will be changed and recorded by the recorder. Thermistor, it is opposite to the Volometer. The next detector is Gole Detector. In this, one of the small cylinder will be there. That cylinder is filled with the xenon. When the IR radiations comes in that cylinder, xenons will expand and ultimately diaphragm will expand and it will be recorded by the recorder. Next detector is Photoconductivity Detector. It is a non-thermal detector. When the radiation will come to the surface of the photoconductivity detector, conductor will be increased because the surface of this detector lead sulfide is present. And the last detector is semiconductor. When IR radiations will not fall to the surface of the semiconductor detector, it will act as an insulator. Whereas when the IR radiation takes place at the surface of the semiconductor detector, current flows will take place and it acts as a conductor. Now, let us discuss the working of the instrument. The IR radiation from the radiation source is split into two equal halves beam. One of the half is passed into the sample cell and another half is passed into the reference containing the solvent respectively. Then these beams are fall on the mirror and reflected towards the monochromator, where the selective radiation will send to the detector. The radiation received by the detector converted into current. It is amplified by the amplifier and recorded, drawn the absorption bands on the chart. Finally, we get a spectrum as a graph of the transmittance versus wave number from the IR spectrophotometer. Now, we will discuss FTIR instrumentation. FTIR is based on the principle of interferometry and interferogram will be obtained, which is a complex signal occurs in the wave-like pattern. Interferogram obtained after these analysis is plotted between intensity versus time. Then it is calculated by the mathematical calculation which is known as real transform. After doing calculation, we get the spectra between intensity versus frequency, and that spectra is called FTIR spectra. Now we will discuss the working of FTIR instrument. In this instrument, we use IR source as a nurse globe or globe. Radiation source produce IR radiation, then it will be go towards the beam splitter, where beam splitter splits this radiation into two equal halves. One goes towards the movable mirror and other goes towards the fixed mirror. From the movable mirror, the radiation reflected back towards the beam splitter, where beam splitter split this radiation into two equal halves. One goes towards the IR source and another goes towards the sample. Similarly, fixed mirror or stationary mirror, the radiations again reflected towards the beam splitter, where it split into two equal halves. One goes towards the IR and another goes towards the sample. Now sample absorbs all the radiations, and after absorbing it will be goes towards the detector. Detector detects the transmitting radiation, and after that detector will produce interferogram in the form of waves. Then these interferograms calculated by the mathematical equation or by the Fourier transform equation. Then computer will give the result in the form of FTIR spectra. These are the image sources which is used in our presentation. Depending upon the presentation, there is some practice questions like define the term IR spectroscopy, write the short notes on NUS Glober and Glober, discuss various types of detector used in dispersive instrument, discuss the principle and working of the FTIR instrument. These all are the references which is used in our presentation.